We're live, man, with a special guest, my brother Clint and Nino from Ninos Corner. How's everybody doing tonight?
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. It's I was just telling them, hopefully it doesn't get too crazy, doesn't get too loud in my house. I got quite a few high school seniors that are coming in the house pretty soon. Got a whole bunch of family here, so hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. Hopefully they don't start using the Wi-Fi, because that's usually where the problem lies. You know what I'm saying? Everybody gets on the Wi-Fi and then this thing breaks down. Hell, it might be Nino and Jeremy's show pretty soon, man, if the Wi-Fi goes out. But like Jeremy said, man, we're excited. It's been a long time coming, man. We got Nino from Ninos Corner Sports. His channel's boomed, man. Really fast. Kind of along the same lines as kind of me and Jeremy. But happy to have you on the show, man, and kind of want to cover some things before we really get to the comments here. But got any thoughts, man, on where we're at with the program, Nino, before we kind of start?
Well, hey, man, first off, thanks for having me, guys, man. Like you said, Clint, it's been a long time coming, man. So, it's like just good to have other Texas, guys who make great content too, man. So, thanks for the invite. But as far as comments, man, let's just get into it, man. Let's just talk about everything, man. I'm good for it.
All right, so yeah, I think what's going to really stir the comment is defense. That's where it kind of is right now. But I think we start with quarterbacks. Let's start with quarterbacks first, and then we'll start with offensive line, and then we'll let the passionate fan base get in here and start acting crazy with the comments on defense, like it usually happens. I do want to say something. Dylan Burnside is watching this YouTube. He's watching us live as he's waking himself home from the gym. Only thing I ask Dylan is please do not try to put comments. I'm watching. Please do not put comments. Safety first, okay? Wait till you get home.
Just listen.
Yeah, listen to it. Please don't put your comments in there, man. We'll definitely get to you once you get home. You have an opportunity to sit down on the couch wherever you're going to be at, to be able to put those comments in here. Let's talk quarterbacks first. Obviously, 2 days in, fall camp, no pads. And it sounds like, again, getting this content, insider information from 247. That's really where we're getting it at. I know somebody, brought up a comment on Twitter the other day about how we were getting the information about about DJ Campbell working at center, and we kind of had to go back on Twitter and kind of put our insider information out there. So yeah, it sounds like Hudson Card is starting with the ones or running with the ones when they're running, obviously routes on air, and then Quinn Ewers is coming in there as the two guy. First, I'm going to ask you, Nino, and me and Jeremy have talked about, who's going to start game one. Do you have a starter at this particular point?
Man, you don't go and do all the work to go get Quinn to have Quinn sit on the bench. I mean, that's just my opinion. If this coaching staff was so sold on Hudson, and then, honestly, this staff would have never went and got Quinn, right? They would have just recruited well this year, got Murphy, got somebody else to come in as well. But to go get Quinn, who was the number one guy in his class, who actually reclassified. So he should be a 2022 guy, right? But he came in, like a whole year early, went up to, freaking Ohio. I get it, took the bag, just do what you got to do, but comes back home in his real class time frame, right? So yeah, I think it's got to be Quinn, man. It's definitely got to be Quinn.
And Nino, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I go back to the same thing, that he'd be a freshman this year if he didn't reclassify from South Lake and go up to Ohio State. But my rationale for Quinn starting is the boom factor, right? I know he's a freshman, but everything you see on tape is, and somebody said a little bit earlier in our content creator chat there on Twitter, I think it was Homer said, he's going to scare defensive coordinators.
Yes,
and that's what I've always. Exactly, because he could make every throw on the football field. If we're down, like we were in every game last year, minus Iowa State and minus Arkansas. And if we're within 7 points going in the third or fourth quarter, I know he can make that throw, whether it's 2nd and 20 from the right hash all the way to the left hash. I don't know that Hudson Card can make those throws late in games that pull out wins like Quinn Ewers does. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so same here too, man, is people think, yes, Quinn is the younger guy, but Quinn has been playing quarterback so much longer than Hudson has. People forget Hudson Card was a wide receiver. So, with him coming to play quarterback his last year, basically, of high school, he's got a lot to learn. He has great arm talent. I mean, I think his arm talent is amazing, but to be a true quarterback, he still has a lot to learn because he's just so new. He's just so new to that position. Quinn's been doing this his whole life, and his arm talent is just unreal.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Hudson Card is going back to that Kansas State game last year. Casey's got a hurt finger. He's got a hurt thumb or whatever the case may be. And you, instead of going to Hudson Card, you go to Roschon Johnson to run the Wildcat. And that's to me, that is really an answer of trust. Mm-hmm. And that Sarkisian doesn't trust Hudson Card to be able to run his offense. If he's willing to lean on Roschon Johnson running the Wildcat damn near 20 times that game versus bringing Hudson Card in to replace who you could see was really injured in Casey Thompson last year with that hurt thumb. So I really think it comes back to trust. And people will talk about, he's missing throws here, he's missing throws here, and he's missing throws here. Every quarterback misses throws. Yeah. But I think it's the throws that you make is what really counts. And I think if you're looking at whether, what 247 and Jeff Howe put out today is that it's the 15-yard throws that Hudson Card's having a hard time making, while Quinn Ewers is able to throw these balls to the outside that shows his arm talent.
And I think hit it on the head with Hudson Card played with Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver at Lake Travis. Charlie Brewer was their quarterback. Only when Charlie Brewer went to Baylor did Hudson start playing quarterback, and he has wheels. And a lot of time at Lake Travis, he did what he did last year, and that's get happy feet and get out of the pocket. But in high school, those wheels led to big plays, and that's why, of course, he was the number one dual threat quarterback coming out. He was a little bit immature as far as arm talent was concerned, but his legs, and that potential to get that arm talent to grow. But like I said, Quinn Ewers is that guy that has been that guy since his sophomore year. You go back and watch huddle film from his sophomore year there at Southlake, and you could see that he was the real deal. Like I said, I equate him to the best arm talent coming out of the state of Texas since Matt Stafford, and I truly believe that. And that was based off sophomore film. So
what's funny though? It's just so easy for him. It's just so easy for him. Like he flicks his wrist and the ball is like 60 yards down the field.
Malik, same thing.
So same thing with him too. They just got crazy arm talent, which is something that this offense missed last year. We couldn't hit a deep ball for nothing last year. So you bring a guy in like Quinn who can hit that deep ball. You know how much easier it's going to make it for Bijan to run. Like how much easier it's going to make it for Sanders to have a route across the middle as a tight end. How much easier it's going to be for Nayor also. So being able to throw that deep ball is going to open up the entire offense, and that's what Sark's offense really runs off of.
And I kind of talked about that on our last show, Clinton. I know you got a point, but Isaiah Nayor and Troy O'Meary and Jatavian Sanders give Quinn that little buffer that he needs. He's on target, right? But if he misses just a little bit, you got guys up there with huge wingspans. The 50-50 balls truly aren't 50-50 balls if these guys get up. 80-20. So like I said, I think the playmaking potential with Quinn Ewers at quarterback is so much better than Hudson Card, but I know he trusts his arm so much that you may see the other side of the coin where he's going to force some throws, and we're going to have to be able to live with that. And I think this Texas fan base has to know that going into this season that he's going to rear back and he's going to let it go. And you're going to love the huge plays like you saw with Isaiah Nayor on the play in the spring game, but know that sometimes he's going to try to make a throw that'll get picked off, and that's going to come with it. And you just hope that when he does see that he learns sooner rather than later to get rid of the ball, throw it out of bounds, dump a play, and not try to force things. Clint,
I just want no point. I just want to get anytime we get a super chat, I got to call them out, man. But this is important when service members party, hook them. Biggest thing, hey. So for those that are watching the show that don't know, I'm active duty, or I'm retired Army. Jeremy's active duty Army. And Nino here is active duty Air Force. So you got service members on here that are doing content creation for the University of Texas program. And to me, that's really, 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 really cool, man. So I just want to tell Jesse, thank you for his money. But I also want to bring up a comment here because I think it's important because Sarkisian brought it up when they asked him about really the offensive lineman. And Clay Stewart asked the question, is there truly a quarterback battle? You have to go with a guy who is younger and gives you more upside. And again, it goes back to that conversation that Steve Sarkisian said in the state of the program on, if I'm not mistaken, Tuesday, where he said, if all things are even based on seniority, you're going to go with the guy that has the higher trajectory. Who has the higher trajectory? Quinn Ewers has the higher trajectory. So I just wanted to pull that up because I think that's important. Is it really a quarterback battle, or is Steve Sarkisian in his mind already know who wants to be the starting quarterback but he has to get through a couple of scrimmages before he makes that decision. You kind of think that's where his thought process is?
Definitely. I think he knows. So I watched his press conference yesterday, right? So his last question was about the quarterbacks, and he had a smile on his face when they asked him. So I was like, oh yeah, he knows. He knows who's going to be that guy that's going to run his offense. And I think Texas fans know too. I mean, barring something drastic happening, then it's got to be Quinn. It's got to be Quinn. We put out every effort to go get him. We got him. We had wide receivers posting his picture, as their image, right? So so Worthy was out there having Quinn Ewers as his image on his Twitter and his Instagram and stuff like that, which also does something. You got certain factors of the team, those skill position players. When those guys want that guy to throw them the ball, I mean, you have to understand that he is going to be the guy, and he's been the most visible guy too. Building bonds with the players, going to baseball games, going to basketball games, doing all the commercials, a lot of folks gave him a lot of, flack when they saw him rapping, right? But he was in the locker room with other players rapping. That's building street cred. That's what Rob B says all the time, right? It's building street cred. And so when you have your quarterback who's from South Lake Carroll, who's, is not anywhere near any rapping, place, but he's spitting word for word what some of his friends from Oak Cliff know. I mean, it does build that street cred, and it actually builds that bond a lot stronger.
Yeah, and I was going to actually talk about Rod B too, because he talks about the popular vote, right? He says in the U.S. election, electoral college wins, so you don't necessarily have to have the popular vote, but in that locker room, you want the popular vote. And like you said, he's always around. He's the face that's hanging out with the skill position players. He's the guy, like you said, he's from South Oak Cliff, a predominantly white suburb north of Dallas. But
South Lake Carroll, not South Oak Cliff.
South Lake Carroll.
He ain't from South.
Yeah, did I say South Oak Cliff? But see, there you go. So he's from South Lake Carroll. Yeah, he definitely not. That's also 35 and down below 20. But like you said, he immerses himself around his teammates and what they like, and understands, that in order to be a teammate, I've got to have some commonalities with my teammates. I got to be able to talk to them about stuff other than football, and that's that bridge that good teammates have. And we know it as well in our service members. We don't always get to pick and choose who comes to work with us or work for us. So as a leader, you have to understand what motivates folks. And I know we're going to talk about Pete Kwiatkowski's what pass rush on here a little bit later. Kind of parallel to that, but Quinn's got to know what to say and how to say it with each individual, because not everybody listens to rap. You probably got some offensive linemen or deep or running backs who listen to country music, and so you got to be versatile. You got to know how to lead. You got to have that common denominator with your teammates, something you could discuss off the field to get you closer.
Yeah. So real quick, let's turn this over to Malik Murphy, because it's funny because Corey Peacock. I wish Malik Murphy would get more attention in these talks. I can tell you that me and Jeremy talk about Malik Murphy. Hell, I think we talked about it 30 minutes ago about Malik Murphy. And my question was, when does he take the number 2 spot? That's my thought with Malik Murphy, because again, if you listen to Steve Sarkisian, Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers are Steve Sarkisian guys. He went out and got those individuals. Those guys belong to Steve Sarkisian. And there's a reason when he brought Malik Murphy in here, because he's got the arm, he's got the talent. It's just really putting the pieces together through, plays, continuous play, getting an opportunity to run with the 1s and the 2s. So to me, and I'm not saying Hudson Card is going to be removed from that 2 position, but I don't want to take away from how talented Malik Murphy is. And Malik Murphy probably, not being the starting quarterback, they say is the most popular guy on the team. He brings that fire, kind of bring up what Vince Young did, between 2003 and 2005 there, bringing that kind of swagger to the locker room means a lot as well. And I think if anybody was to raise their hand and say, who's probably the most popular guy on the team, everybody would probably say Malik Murphy. And I think Malik Murphy is just going to take him time in the scheme and learning the intricacies of offensive football. And I think when he gets that and he has that time, he's going to fight for that number 2 position. It wouldn't surprise me by the end of the season that if whatever Quinn Ewers needed to come, let's say Quinn Ewers had to come out of the game because we were up by 35, it would not surprise me if Malik Murphy had an opportunity to go in those games.
And Nino kind of talked about the inexperience of Hudson Card, but that's the same thing with Malik Murphy. Malik Murphy played behind a stud there, 𝗟𝗜𝗄𝗧, so he really didn't get to start until his junior year of high school. Well, junior year of high school in California gets wiped away because of COVID. So he only has, a dozen varsity games to really show his skill set. Now, yes, he was invited to Elite 11. He goes to camps, but nobody could deny that 6'6" frame and that skill set and that arm talent. So you're absolutely right. It's inexperience that probably what kept Malik Murphy from being a 5-star quarterback. Is not enough varsity film, probably not enough, camp showings because of the state of California back when he was in high school.
Yeah, definitely. And what's funny about Murphy, man, is that he came out as a 5-star, after his sophomore year. People gave everybody hell because he was a 5-star. They didn't play. He had no varsity snaps and came in as a 5-star, right? And, Jeremy, like you said, we had the COVID year. I think he played in 2 games that year, right? So they dropped him down from a top 30 player to a top 100 player. They dropped him down 50 or 60 spots, right? So what does he do? He has all that adversity on him. People say that he doesn't have the film. They don't think he is what, all the services thinks he is. He just goes out and wins a state championship on a team that doesn't have a great offensive line, on a team that has to go against Long Beach Poly. That's a pro factory. I mean, that's all he does is go out there and wins a freaking state championship just to let everybody know, yes, I might not be the most fine-tuned machine yet, but I am a winner. And I think Texas got a great one with Murphy. And
you could tell that when you met him, because we got a chance to meet him in not this past spring game, but the spring game before, because, of course, he was on the field this past spring game because he's an ordinary enrollee, but so humble. So he was very nice, generous with his time. Everybody wanted to get their picture because right before that spring game is, I think, when he committed to the University of Texas. So you can't miss him. He's 6'6". He was hanging out with Connor Robertson, I think, and then probably Ethan Burke and a couple other members of the Westlake football team there at that spring game. But just a great kid, too. And, again, he's going to get in here. He's got the best, probably the best quarterback guru in college football to take that inexperience that he didn't have in his high school, get him on the fast track to being productive. And like you guys said, his skill set is going to push him up the depth chart probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So the thing about him, though, it's going to be very interesting to see if Sark can keep him reeled in, right? Because let's say Quinn does this thing this year and he starts the whole year, and then next year he starts as well. Arch comes in 23. Arch sits a year, right? And so let's say Quinn balls out for 2 years, goes to the league, which is what we're all hoping happens, right? We hope that Quinn is so great. He has 2 years here and he's gone. Then Arch, Manning, and Murphy, right? You know what the fan base is going to want, right? The fan base is going to want Arch because he is a Manning. He's from the first family of all of football, the lowest ranked person, in the Manning family got drafted 2nd pick overall, not 2nd round, 2nd pick of the 1st round, being his grandfather. Right. And so if you go with that logic, let's say Manning does have the higher floor, right? Because he's just been coached so well his whole life. And let's say Manning oversteps, Murphy, right? And he starts for 2 years. Sark has to do some kind of job to sell him, if that does happen, on keeping him. He has to point to something and say, look what I did with Mac Jones, right? Look what I did with Mac Jones. I had Tua. I had, I had Jalen. We had Tua. Mac Jones just sat and waited his time, and he got that 1 year to prove it, and he proved it. 1st round draft picked higher than Jalen, picked right around, 4 slots, after Tua, basically. And he's projected to have the higher upside than all 3 of those guys in the league. So basically, stay with me. I'm going to get you to the league. Trust the process.
I think the only thing that changes that, Nino, is trust, right? Yeah. If Texas starts winning football games and if they're winning 10 ball games and they're playing in New Year's 6 bowls and they're competing for Big 12 championships, and Sark tells you, I think Malik Murphy gives me the best chance to win and maintain 10 wins and competing for championships, and the fan base trusts him, I think that could be done. Now, if we are in the middle of the road and we're 6, 7, 8, 9 wins and we're not competing for championships, then yeah, you're going to want the next, like you said, that heir apparent, that guy who has all these, all this lineage to go start football games. But I think if the team wins and the coach comes out and says, I think this guy gives us the best chance to maintain that, because I've got all the pieces around him. I've got this offensive line who are now juniors and ready to kill. I got the skill position players like Jonte Cook, Ryan Niblett. I still have this stable of backs. And I think Malik Murphy gives me the best chance to win football games and maintain that. That's the only way. But yeah, if you're in the middle of the road, in the middle of the conference, not competing for championships, and Arch Manning comes along, I think he's in a weird predicament. He truly is. But I think if you win ball games, then you have to trust the coaching staff and their evaluation and who they think needs to start.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a lot of hypotheticals.
A lot of hypotheticals. Let's get away from. It's all going to be hypothetical right now, right? Because we're what 29, 30 days from the game, right? The first game of the year. So it's all going to be really hypotheticals at this point. So we're gonna continue on with the hypotheticals. Nino, I'm going to put you on the spot here, man. You're 5 starting offensive linemen at the beginning of the season. Who do you have? Do you have any? Ooh, here we go.
My 5 starting. I was just thinking about this because I was drafting up an Excel spreadsheet of all the offensive linemen on the team, right? And so it's funny because we had 7 freshmen this year, right? We only have 15 scholarship offensive linemen here on campus. So out of the 15 scholarship offensive linemen, basically half of them are freshmen. So just by the law of numbers, 1 or 2 of those guys have to start. But day one, left tackle, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a lot, but it is what it is. It's got to be Kelvin Banks Jr. It's got to be Kelvin Banks Jr., man. And I'm not just saying it because of the picture I saw yesterday, but
bullshit. Look, I don't cuss on this show, but I'm gonna tell you what, I have to BS, because if you've seen that picture on Twitter, everybody knows that Kelvin Banks is that dude.
He's that guy.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
he's that guy, man. So I'm going to say Kelvin Banks Jr. has to be the left tackle, right? Left guard, I was going to say 𝗟𝗟𝗓𝗏, but seeing all the reports saying that he moved to right guard, that's kind of interesting. But if I had to say it, just based off last year, Kelvin Banks Jr., 𝗟𝗟𝗓𝗏, Jake Majors, the next guard, would I do Hayden Conner? I don't want to put Christian Jones at the right tackle. I would say Hayden Conner at right tackle. And I would say right guard would probably be – oh, man, you got to put me in the spot good on this one. You
don't have to get the positions right, because like I told the guys that watch this show, is you can get all 5 guys completely right. And you could probably and get 100% of the names right and get 20% of the positions.
Yeah, I just don't see.
So you don't have to name them.
Yeah, I don't see how you can keep Hayden Conner off the field. Hayden Conner, I think, is going to be a guy that's going to produce. But yeah, Kelvin Banks Jr. definitely at left tackle, 𝗟𝗟𝗓𝗏 at the left guard, Majors at the center. I don't want to put DJ Campbell in there yet when it comes to the right guard. Cole Hudson's been there, right? He's been here for like a training camp already. Maybe Cole Hudson there, and then a Hayden Conner at the right tackle. I just hate starting 2 freshmen on the line, but we got Cal Flood. And if Cal Flood is everything that we think he is, then we can just look down the street. The guys at College Station started 2 freshmen last year. And they only allowed 19 sacks last year, right? Once you compare that to Alabama allowed 41 sacks last year. So
I love your
put
group.
that into perspective, right? So, I'm with that. But honestly, man, just to piggyback on that, there's a guy that I don't think we are going to be able to keep off the field just off sheer size and athleticism, and that's Cam Williams. It's just something about having a kid that's 6'7", 374 pounds, and it doesn't look sloppy. It doesn't look sloppy. He's 374. That doesn't look sloppy. He's probably the most ready-built guy to be in the trenches, whether at guard or at right tackle. But definitely, you can put him at guard. You're not moving him back. You're just not going to do it. You're not moving 375 back, right? So, it's going to be interesting.
And that's why I put him at guard. Because try like put those big trash cans full of dirt that defensive tackles that Alabama and Georgia are going to have, like they're not going to be able to penetrate him. Like you said, he's not going to move. And so I've always thought he was a guard. There'll be guys that argue with me and tell me he's a tackle. But I like your group. I looked at the pictures of them yesterday, and I don't see any sloppy weight on anyone.
Even 𝗟𝗟𝗏𝗏. 𝗟𝗟𝗏, I thought was the guy who maybe had some baby fat on him and stuff, right? But seeing the pictures yesterday, I'm like, Jesus Christ, these kids only been in the system for 45 to 60 days, and look at their body transformation after 45 days, right? I mean, so just think, with some weight training here, with a real program here, not in a high school, these guys are going to be, no kidding, the real deal, man. And just seeing that lineup come out yesterday, their third string, which was all freshmen, right? All freshmen. Banks, Agbo, Connor Robinson, Devin Campbell. Who was the tackle? Was it
Kelvin Banks or Neto? Because we haven't talked. The only one we haven't talked about was Neto.
So I don't think it was Neto. Connor
Malik
Robinson.
Agbo?
No, so Agbo played the guard. So it was left tackle was Banks, Agbo, Connor Robinson, Devin Campbell, and we had somebody else at right tackle, and it's just slipping my mind right now, but it is what it is.
But it's a good problem. But it's a good problem. Cam Williams. But it's, and then you look at it, you're like, damn, you got these guys on the 40 acres for the next 3 years. That's crazy to me. But I also looked at a picture today, and I actually sent it to Jeremy via text message, probably about an hour ago. It was a tweet. I think it came from On3, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of the pictures they took today of Junior 𝗟𝗚𝗕𝗏 sitting next to Cam Williams, and you can see the sheer size on Cam Williams standing next to Junior 𝗟𝗚𝗏, pushing these things up.
Yeah.
And his extension was crazy. The damn thing was probably 5 feet over his head, which he's already 7 foot tall. But yeah, I'm telling you, the offensive line is really what excites me right now. It's really, what does Kyle Flood see from a trajectory point? Again, taking the seniors out of it, all things equal. If you have a guy like Christian Jones, you got a guy like Junior 𝗟𝗚𝗏𝗏. I think Jake Majors is solid now, but they're also bringing guys in to take snaps. Quite a few guys in to take snaps.
Yeah.
So I think he's the only solid one right now. But I think if all things are equal and they think the trajectory of these freshmen are higher than within a year versus what they currently have on the 40 acres, I don't think you replace all of them. But I think you're going to see some of those guys that's been around for a while be replaced with some of these freshmen that they feel comfortable with.
So, so just to piggyback on that, Jeremy and Clint, man. So, Clint, you brought this up earlier about, so basically DJ Campbell playing center, right? And, I saw the same thing too, right? And I just started jogging through my mind. I'm thinking, let's say Texas goes to the SEC in 24, right? I'm just thinking this offensive line in 2024, when the Jake Majors is gone and, Christian Jones is gone and the Junior 𝗟𝗟𝗏𝗏 is gone. And I just started writing down notes, man. Now I'm looking at a left tackle of Banks, guard Hayden Connor. Both those guys are 6'5", 318, right? So Banks would be a junior then, Connor would be a senior. A DJ Campbell, 6'3", 321 at center, as a junior. Neto at 6'5", 314 as your right guard. And then having a guy like Cam Williams at 6'7", 374 as your right tackle. And I'm just looking at that. I'm like, wow. Just think of where we came from, folks. Yeah. Think where we came from.
And he hasn't stopped. Because you talk about Connor Strode, Jaden Chapman, Trevor Gooseby, he's still bringing in 6'5", 6'6", 335, 340. Peyton Kirkland, big humans. And like you said, if there is a little bit of extra, not desirable weight, Torrey Beckton's they're going to run in the summer and they're going to work it off. Yeah. And this depth is, because that's the thing for me. We talked about the starting five, but I've always said I need 8 or 9 guys I could trust.
Yeah.
Because injuries going to happen. Ankles are going to get busted. Knees. That's why they wear 2 knee braces. Somebody's going to fall on somebody. They're going to come out. I need 8 or 9 linemen I could trust at all times. And that's what I think they give you. Even if they don't roll out there and start, I think they give you scholarship depth that we haven't had in the last couple of years when Derek Kerstetter had to move 3 positions in order to keep the line intact. You can bring a guy in who's training at that position who is just as good or maybe just a little bit to where if a little bit of a drop off to where you could keep this football moving down the field. And that's why I say Bijan behind this group has to touch the ball 25 times a game.
Yeah.
Real quick. So if I barely caught just a piece of it. If you haven't seen it yet, the press conference, I think they had Bijan Robinson and DeMarvion Overshown do a piece today that just came on YouTube probably about 20 minutes before we came on. And I caught the first 5 minutes, and then they start talking to Bijan about – they asked him a question. Bijan, do you have a hard time seeing over the line with these big guys? And he says, no, I can see over the line, but it's a good problem to have. And you can see him glowing. He said, it was a blessing. It's a blessing that they brought these guys in. Now, will Bijan be able to see all of it? Absolutely not, because he's going to go off to the NFL when these guys hit their peak in college, and then they go off to the NFL. So he's only going to see a piece of it. But to hear him glow about these guys right now and say, damn, it is hard to see over the top of them, but it's a good problem to have, man. They make space. So we start off, let's just say, and this is a question for both of y'all. So at the beginning of the year, say we have one true freshman that starts, and I think we all agree that Kelvin Banks is probably going to be your left tackle. And that's just a pure guess at this particular point. And I think it's a good one. All right. He's going to be your left tackle to start the season. If all goes well, you hope that none of those offensive linemen were replaced by freshmen, right? If all goes well, because, you probably won a whole bunch of games. But do you see by, let's say at the end of UTSA, some of these freshmen are making strides. Do you see any additional freshmen going, start going into Big 12 play?
Ooh, DJ Campbell and Cam Williams. Those are my two. No, I'm sorry. Nah. DJ Campbell, Cole Hudson, because this room is so talented. It's kind of hard to pinpoint one or two. I mean, honestly, you can see any one of those seven, I think, make the opportunity to jump up over some of these guys. Let's be honest, our offensive line hasn't been that great over the last 3 or 4 years. So what's stopping these guys from jumping them now? Now, I don't want them to jump them, against Alabama right now. That could be dangerous. But, going into play here in the conference, I could definitely see a Cole Hudson or a Cam Williams or, a Campbell jumping somebody.
I look at it more like, why are they replacing them? Are they replacing them for performance during ball games by the other guys, or are they just competing that much better in practice? Like, why are they getting replaced, or why are the freshmen having to play? Because I don't want it to be for poor performance. I want these guys to go out, whoever those 5 are, to go out there and do their thing, and for those guys to pass them up on the practice field just because they're that much better. Yeah. But Kyle Flood's going to have to be the one to see that. Do I think a freshman could jump a returner or contributor or returning contributor on this offensive line? Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, when I wrote the offensive line preview, the accolades that these 7 have, and Texas' inability to bring guys like Devon Campbell and Kelvin Banks into this program repeatedly over the last 5 years tells me that they're going to have a chance to start. I totally agree that Kelvin Banks is probably the one that we'll see in game 1, just like everybody else. But I don't want to see him get replaced for poor performance. I want, as Steve Sarkisian said, I want these young freshmen and their ability to push these guys who are returning contributors to a level they didn't think they could get to. And I don't want, just because Cam Williams and Devon Campbell and Kelvin Banks showed up on campus, for them to raise their level of play. They should have already done that. But if that's what it takes to motivate them, then get out there and start dropping defensive ends. Stop getting holding penalties. Stop getting pre-snap penalties, and do your job. But yeah, it's definitely possible.
So I just want to do something real quick. We've got 132 people in here watching right now, and we're really bad about this. So if you have not hit that like button, please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel. And then after you subscribe to our channel, what I need you to do is, I don't want you to exit out now, but I need you to write some notes real quick. Write it on a note card. I need you to go to Nino Corner Sports on YouTube. Everybody on here more than likely already watching Nino anyway. But if there's somebody that's not watching Nino right now, go over to Nino Corner Sports, hit that subscribe button. I think he's got a join as well. He's got a membership as well, kind of like we do. Hit those memberships if you want to. Hit those memberships for both channels, because this is how we make it happen, honestly. Full-time jobs and doing this stuff, leaving work and then coming home and doing these things. We definitely appreciate support. 136 people in here. Please hit that like button. And then once you subscribe to our channel, pop out of here after the show, go to Nino Corner Sports on YouTube and hit that subscribe channel as well. All right, so let's move from offensive line, and then we'll get to some of the comments after we talk about. So we're going to we went from quarterback, offensive line. Let's talk about defensive backs. I think that's one of the other concerns that we have. Or I think that's one of the concerns that Steve Sarkisian has. And again, I don't know if it's based on the experience level that's there, or he hasn't figured out what 5 guys are going to play back in the back end. And as of right now, it sounds like Jaron Thompson is safety. Anthony Cook's going to play safety. Deshaun Jamison, cornerback. Ryan Watts is your other cornerback. And then Jahdae Barron is your nickel. And again, that's where we're running out after two fall practices. And I'll go first because, I don't want to put you on the spot here. I'll go first. I think what I want to see is, and I nothing against Deshaun Jameson. I think he's going to be a hell of a special teams guy, punt returner, and so on and so forth. But I think if we're going to play press man coverage, we need to see somebody else. And I think we talked about this on the last show, Jalen Gilbo take his place, because I think he gives you the best opportunity to do that. Your thoughts on the defensive backs,
Yeah, man. I don't want to, get on Shark either. He's a hell of a special teams player, man. But, he gave up a lot of big plays last year. But the previous season, I mean, he was pretty lights on, so he was making the one-handed grabs and covering pretty well, But the one thing that I think everybody has to look at when it comes to a guy like Jameson, he's been in this program for 5 years now, right? 4 years as a DB. This is the first time in his career that he has had a defensive back coach for 2 years in a row. He's always had a different position coach every year he's been here in the program. Maybe the continuity is what he needs. I'm hoping and praying that that's what he needs. But, I like his speed. I mean, I like his instincts when he uses them. Maybe it's just him trusting what he's doing, and that comes with reps and that comes with knowing the scheme, right? Yeah, I like Jameson, but we definitely got to play some more press coverage. We got to get these receivers off their routes, give our edge rushers some time to get to the ball. All right. We were playing so far off the ball last year that even if the edge rushers got any kind of pressure, the guy goes with his first read because he can get an easy 3 or 4 yards and just keeps the chains going, right? So Jameson on one side, Ryan Watts on one side as well. I like Crawford. Is something about Crawford, somebody from East Texas, just a kid from East Texas, fast guy from what everybody says. He's one of the fastest guys on the team. He got some dog in him too, and I think that's something that this defense needs is some dog. Thompson's good too. I like Cook playing via safety. Barron might be the best out of everybody when it comes to just covering somebody. But yeah, it's time that it's finally here where our guys have the same position coach for 2 years. Maybe Sark, might not be too comfortable because yes, some of these guys haven't played a lot. I think the only folks who have played a lot here is going to be Jameson and Cook, right?
Yeah.
But Ryan Watts hasn't played much at all. Thompson played some last year. Crawford hasn't played much at all. Barron played well last year, but not a lot, so he doesn't have a huge sample size, So yes, it's new players who haven't started a lot yet. Some guys moving from different schemes. So Watts moving from the other college down to here now, and so yeah, it's just a little bit of mixture of like everything.
All right, so I took a couple of notes. Coordination, right? Coordinator, defensive coordinator. He's supposed to coordinate the front seven with the back four, right? Mm-hmm. Or back five or back six. So the reason you run press man coverage is because you can't get a pass rush, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to find a way, like Nino said, to get that quarterback off his easy first read, right? So if you're not developing a pass rush, what's the best way to make the quarterback hold the ball? Is press man coverage. What can change that, and I don't want it to change. I want to get a pass rush with press man coverage because, again, redirecting the wide receivers, that time in between quarterbacks and receivers gets changed. Receivers don't like getting hit in the mouth when they release off the line of scrimmage. It takes a toll, especially when you're a little bit slighter like an Xavier Worthy. It doesn't really have that effect on an Isaiah Nair, Troy O'Meara, Jai Hall as it does for a guy like Xavier Worthy or Brendan Thompson. Guys don't like getting hit in the mouth. But that, like Nino said, they work together. Like press man coverage will give you time to get to the quarterback, but at the same time, if you're not getting to the quarterback, it allows you time to redirect the receivers and not get that timing. So what I want to see is guys like you're talking about. I want Ryan Watt, 6'2", 210 pounds on one corner. I want a guy like Jalen Gilbo, who's just
he's a dog. He's a dog.
He's just nasty. He's nasty, and he's been nasty for a long time. Like
he reminds me so much. I'm gonna kind of basically date myself here, but. A damn Terrell Brown, man. Like Terrell Brown was nasty. When we were in school, he was really quiet in school, but Terrell Brown was nasty. Cedric Griffin was nasty. Matter of fact, Gilbo reminds me a lot more of Cedric Griffin. Ced G was nasty. He had he was long, he was tall, physical. He can run pretty well too. Had a great career in the league as well because he had that size, but he was a nasty guy. And, he was my resident, for like a lot of people that don't know, I was like the football player's RA in college. So Said G was definitely one of those guys who had a little bit of mean streak in him, which is what you need on defense. You got to be halfway crazy to play defense, right? And so, so Said G was one of those guys. And I think Gilbo definitely has like that streak in him, man, that you need on defense. Absolutely.
So I discovered Jalen Gilbo when I was doing, Jordan Thomas is no longer on the football team, but his teammate Jordan Thomas was coming out a year ahead of him as a defensive end. And I was studying Jordan Thomas and Gilbo popped up. And I'm going to sidetrack just for a second because you talked about Aaron Harris the other day.
Yeah.
And I happened to coach Aaron Harris's little sister in U6 soccer in DeSoto when he was going to North Mesquite. And I got a chance to meet his parents.
Yeah.
Because we had our gathering at Chuck E. Cheese, where at end of season gathering, these kids were really, really good. But that kind of took me back to that time, 05, 06, when we were really successful, and him stopping Lindell White to get us the football back and let Vince do his thing. Because Aaron Harris was one of those guys that played middle linebacker, kind of unsung when you were talking about that team. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. But you're right. I want guys that are putting their hands on receivers again for everything that it brings. Because you play off man coverage, again, you can get a hitch thrown on you, you can get a quick slant thrown on you, a quick 5 yards, and that's what these RPO and this air raid offenses are designed to do: is get the ball in his quarterback's hands and move the ball down the field. But yeah, that's why I feel that we need those taller cornerbacks. And again, at the safety position, you want guys that can cover. That's obviously what they want. If you can't cover, then you're not going to play at the University of Texas because again, Rod will tell you this is a running league cross-dressing as a passing league. Exactly. But at the same time, he'll also tell you that the explosive play rate against the University of Texas defensive backs was unbelievable, over 58% explosive play rate. So that's got to stop. So everybody in the back end has to be able to cover.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So next topic, because I think, we're all lifelong learners, right? And I think it's important for you to be a lifelong learner. I think you take, regardless of where you made it in life, I think it's important to surround yourself with even smarter people, or people are going to make you better. And, Sarkisian went out to Los Angeles to meet with McVay. And they asked him the other day, is he the one that coordinated the conversation between Dan Quinn and Pete Kwiatkowski? Your thoughts on that, on that meeting, and what do you think he was trying to get from Dan Quinn for his defense this year specifically, if anything?
Oh, I got this one, Jeremy. So I actually talked about this yesterday on my podcast, and just hear me out on this, folks. Everybody knows that Dan Quinn he's a guy that loves the defensive line. He's one of those guys that his whole defense predicates on that line. Now, of course, he was the DC when he had the Legion of Boom and stuff, but that Legion of Boom doesn't do what it does without those guys in the front seven. It just is what it is, right? But Dan Quinn comes to Dallas last year. He inherits a defense that's not his. I think he sees that defensive line at Dallas didn't have the real interior pieces on that defensive line. He had to manufacture pass rush in that team. So how did he do it? He brought some guys with him from the Falcons. He did a lot of stuff that Rob B even said, playing those three safeties, right? Playing like that hybrid linebacker safety, also getting those bigger corners there, as well. But what he did was play the two inside linebackers and use Micah Parsons as his chess piece that he moved all around the field. And I said this in my podcast yesterday. I said, do not be surprised if PK meets with Dan Quinn and tries to manufacture a pass rush using DeMarvion Overshawn as his Micah Parsons. I'm not saying that they're the same player, but using it as his chess piece, putting a Tucker Dorsey at linebacker, putting a Jalen Ford at linebacker, and then using Overshawn on what's the best matchup for him, because he's a great blitzer. We all know he's a great blitzer. And he was blitzing really well without the added weight. You got to think, this is his first offseason that he's had with this team as a linebacker, that he's completed, with no injuries, no learning a new scheme. So he's bulked up. He looks good with the weight on too. It seems like his speed is kept there, but you can use that guy as a mismatch, find out where he can abuse somebody and get to the quarterback, rush really well, use him as your chess piece, almost like Dan Quinn used Micah Parsons.
I don't have to answer because I wrote that down. Micah Parsons, Demo, because he answered it for me. Even if he was going up there to learn scheme, That's the first question I'm going to ask Dan Quinn is how do I make number 0 look like 11 on the college football field? Do I, and it's stuff we talked to David Benda about at the Burnt Orange Heroes things, like walking him up late to the line of scrimmage, disguising, moving the front to one side to create a mismatch on the other. Like that's the stuff he went to talk to Dan Quinn about. Coverage schemes, stuff like that probably got addressed. The front 4 probably got addressed, but he said, how do I make 0 look like 11? How do I get him in a position to make plays? But I do want to talk one more thing because me and Clint, I generally call Clint when I'm leaving work late, especially if we're going at 7 to kind of get I'll use a military term, a sit rep, a situational report.
Situational report.
Because he has time, a little bit more time on occasions to look at stuff that I don't get a chance to look at. But I looked at a couple of comments from our last show, and I want to get your opinion on it. And I know it's going to fire up the comments, and I hope it does, because I want to get everybody's opinion on this. Is Gary Patterson's inclusion to this defensive staff make it so quick for people to want to fire Pete Kwiatkowski? And I say that because I'm going to say this, that Pete Kwiatkowski has one group that he's been able to – he's not playing with his guys. Look at the defense. Coburn's not his guy. Sweat is not his guy. Demo's not his guy. Cook is not his guy. Barron's not his guy. None of these guys has he recruited to play at the University of Texas. The 22 class with Chris Ross, Derek Brown, Ethan Burke, Jamon Tapp. I can keep naming the 22 class and defenders.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's their third year under a different defensive coordinator. Why are people so quick after one season? Yes, was it bad? Absolutely, it was bad. But quick to say fire Pete Kwiatkowski, because I think Gary Patterson's inclusion to the staff is what, as an analyst, is what makes people say Pete Kwiatkowski should be gone after coaching 12 football games at the University of Texas. Your thoughts on that?
Ooh, that's a good loaded question. So, of course, PK has to feel in the back of his head. He has probably the best defensive head coach to probably coach in the Big 12, right? Let's be honest. Patterson's done this thing. He's kind of like made TCU from the Mountain West Conference down to Big 12. He's done more with less. And I think what people were really mad about last year was seeing how the defense really regressed from the Chris Ash defense, which was like a middle average defense, but that's all Texas needed with the offense that they have this year. Mm-hmm. An average defense, Texas goes 10-2, 9-3 last year. With an average defense, a defense that's ranked 65th in the country, they win 10 games last year. This defense finished 100th in the country. Nobody thought that PK was going to regress 35 spots last year on this defensive side of the ball. It's going to be pressure. Honestly, he has to know that who is sitting behind him, who is the analyst or the special assistant to the head coach. He knows Gary Patterson's there. Hopefully Gary Patterson's helping him out as well. But hey, pressure busts pipes or it makes diamonds, right? So you're either going to rise to the occasion or be stagnant. And so maybe that's what he needs.
I guess my question is it fair? Is it fair for the fan base to want – because I know Gary Patterson is going to do his best job as an analyst to try to help both Pete Kwiatkowski and Steve Sarkisian. But I just don't know if it's fair that we say before the second season's even started that he needs to go and Gary Patterson needs to replace him. That's my thoughts.
Oh, no. That shouldn't happen at all. You got to give this man some time to go get his recruits. But in saying that, even with the previous staff's recruits, I think the team was looking for a better defensive outcome. Even Chris Ash, he had the previous guys recruits, and you start to see this team kind of turn a page last year on the defensive side of the ball, and that's with a brand new scheme. Now, maybe this year it's the reverse. Maybe we fell off a cliff the first year, and we get better the second, third, and fourth year. You remember we got taught Orlando. We did really good the first year, and we fell off a cliff. Maybe this is the reverse, right? Maybe this is the reverse,
But I was Chris Ash fan, man. I was all in on honestly Steve Sarkisian keeping Chris Ash.
I was too.
If we could have kept just Chris Ash and kept him as a defensive coordinator, now I think you're right. I think if you had Chris Ash's defense last year, you're definitely 10-win. You're a 10-win team. We're talking after winning five games last year. But again, with Chris Ash's defense and what he did the previous year with Steve Sarkisian's offense, you're talking 9-10 wins, maybe 11 win games. But again, I think if Pete Kwiatkowski didn't have the track record he did at Washington and what he did over, a 15-year period, I think then it becomes a problem. But I think you got to go back and look at somebody's track record, and I think you got to look at the guys that they had playing on their team at that point. You know what I'm saying? Where he did more with less, right? With more with less, but he had his guys to be able to fill those positions that he currently doesn't have now that he's recruiting to his system. And I think that's important. But I also want to go back to the conversation that I had with Anthony Cook about changing out defensive coordinators every year. It's not good for your defense. It's not good. You're learning a different scheme. None of these defensive coordinators run the same scheme, or they may run 3-down lineman scheme, but the way that they drill down in that 3-4 defense may be different than having a 4-3 defense, or so on and so forth. And I think changing coordinator after coordinator after coordinator every year does your program and injustices as well. It's almost worse than actually firing the coach that did bad and then letting him sit around for a couple of years, because now your team's going to continue to regress, because I think you're going to have some regression, bringing in a new system with new coaches, getting buy-in, and then you should do well with the guys you have. You should, but unfortunately that doesn't work out all the time because they don't fit the positions of need that necessarily have.
Yeah. Perfect, because that's exactly what I was going to say, because Alfred Collins, to me, under Chris Ash, played 3, right? And he played a remarkable 3 as a freshman.
Lovely at it. He was lovely.
Pete Kwiatkowski comes in and moves him to defensive end, and he does not make an impact last season, or near the impact that he made as a freshman. Like you said, Clint, you bring a new coordinator, it's just not a new voice. It's a new scheme that's going to ask players to do different things that might not be in their skill set just yet. They may need a year to develop the skill set that you want them to play. It's just not moving a big man over one slot or one hole on the defense. There's technical things that come with that. Just like we talked about, he doesn't want all speed rush. You can't have all speed rushers. Everybody has to have a counter move. You're not going to run around. Let's use our 6'7", 374-pounder. You're going to have to find different ways to get around it. Speed rush worked in high school. It's not going to work here. So I think more, like you said, it's not just another coordinator. It's not just another voice. He comes in with a different scheme and an idea of what that player can excel at with what he does. That player may not be ready for that.
But also, I think this is where people were probably a little mad with last year's defense, right? Is PK is a really good defensive mind, a great defensive mind. He's done really good things in the Pac-12. But when you look at the staff, well, not the staff, when you look at the players that you have in this team, you got to be multiple in your scheme and not try to force a square peg in a round hole. We know Alfred Collins is not a defensive end. I mean, everybody knows that. Maybe we should have tried to run some 4-man line where we had Alfred Collins lining up at his normal 3 technique and, having somebody else next to him and 2 real ends there. But honestly, I don't even think we had the personnel for that last year. It's just PK's in a hard position with this defense because he inherited a lot of pieces, but a lot of pieces that aren't really cohesive together, especially on that line, right? So, I think you're right. It's going to take some time for this defense to get where it needs to get because he's finally starting to get the bodies that he wants here, getting like a Bledsoe in last year, and Aaron Bryan, a Chris Ross, a Zach Swanson, Finkley and the tap to be on the edge. I think that's a masterful class. And then like basically doubling down this year, getting Mitchell, 6'6", 345-pound guy who's going to be a beast on the inside, right? Getting him and getting other players as well. So he's finally starting to get those pieces that he wants. But Texas fans, we got to temper our expectations down. Our defense might not be a top 50 defense this year. If we're hovering around 65 or 70 this year, folks,
I'm cool with that.
That's an increase from 35 slots last year. And if our offense with the skill positions that we have now and better quarterback play can produce 37 points a game, we're going to win a lot of games, folks. We're going to win a lot of games. Yeah.
All right. So I got a question I want to get down here because we haven't really got to the questions yet, and I really want to get to them. But Tracy Williams has a thought, and I could probably write a dissertation on this question alone, right? That's how kind of crazy it is. Thoughts on Bo Davis being the reason our defensive line hasn't performed well? Is it a poor judgment from a talent level or scheme or development? So I'm gonna go first real quick. So Bo Davis, everybody loves Bo Davis. Right? Everybody from Nick Saban to I think they tried to hire him. They tried to hire him away to LSU this year, and we had to give him a pay raise to $1 million. So that tells you what head coaches think about Bo Davis. And he's never taken on a defensive coordinator role. This is what he loves to do. From a talent level, none of these guys were Bo Davis guys. Again, these are guys that were recruited prior to Bo Davis getting here. Now Bo Davis has an opportunity to get his guys, and we kind of see what he wants. So I think it's hard to answer this question because none of these guys, he's really from a talent level, he didn't go out there and grab these guys. From a scheme level, we've seen what he did on the bus last year. He was embarrassed by his defensive line. I think he felt that they weren't giving it all they got, and he told the guys that needed to leave to get on the damn bus and head out. Transfer portal was your thing. Mm-hmm. But I think as a developer of talent, he's been with Texas before, right? Yeah. He's been with Alabama. He went to the Detroit Lions, and they tried to steal him from LSU this year. So that tells you that other people think he can develop. I think you just got to give Bo Davis, and again, this coaching staff time to be able to prove it on the field.
Yeah. Clint, I totally agree with that, man. Bo Davis he's a great defensive mind. I mean, he's a great defensive coach. Like you say, on the line, he's coached everywhere from the SEC to the Big 12. Basically, when the Big 12 was booming, he was coaching in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Then goes to the SEC and coaches in the SEC when they're booming. And he's basically one of the most well-respected defensive line coaches, not only in college football, but in the professional football league as well. So that just goes to show you that he is definitely the guy that everybody sees, is a great mind. One thing about the players that are here, yes, people like to bring up, well, when they were at Bama, he wanted that kid at Bama. Yes, he probably did. He wanted to recruit an Alfred Collins, or he wanted to recruit somebody that's here now. But you got to understand, these guys have been on campus now 2-3 years. Some of these guys 4 years. When you have a program where you're getting developed by somebody and that 18-year-old body that he wanted is not developed into the body that he would have produced that guy into at the previous school that he was at, it's not the same player. It's not the same player that he wanted 3 years ago. It's a whole different player who might have put on some more weight that he probably wouldn't have put that kind of weight on, or he might have slimmed down and be like, no, you were fine the way you were. So you got to look at it. Yes, he might have wanted these players before, but the guy that he has now is not the guy that he wanted 3 years ago.
Yep. Because guys sometimes don't develop. Like their senior year, they're a 5-star. They never see the field. We've seen that several times at University of Texas, mainly with the offensive line. But we've seen it in other places too. Like they've hit their ceiling. And then you'll see a 3-star get brought in the program, and they'll continue to develop and pass them up. But I can't agree anymore with you guys that he's a great defensive coach. He just needs the guys that he wants to play positions that they need to play. That's the answer.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Nino, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You can answer yes or no. We have no insider information here, but we're being asked about recruiting. There's a recruit that's gonna pick somebody tomorrow night. You already got your commitment preview made?
Hey, what time that commitment? It's at 3:00.
Yeah, 3:00, right? Because that's what I would tell you. That's what me and Jeremy used to do. We used to create them. Yeah, obviously, because again, it's time, right? You're trying to get these things out in time. So me and Jeremy used to do the same thing, man. We were like, it's like if we had an idea, maybe like a 90%, I would say honestly, 60% chance that somebody was going to pick us. It was like, all right, let's do this commitment corner. You know what I'm saying? And have them prepared. Darian Gillette, chances of getting Darian Gillette tomorrow, you think is pretty high?
Yeah, I think so, man. You look at his final three. What is it? Us. Who is it?
Ohio State and A&M.
Ohio State and A&M. That's who it was.
Yeah, so basically us and A&M. He did go to A&M this past weekend, right? For their pool party, but only for one day. Look, I think he's coming to Texas, and that'll be, he can see the playing field, with us. Also sees that there's a staff in place that he is very, very cool with. Jeff Choate being there, PK being there, Bo Davis being there. Texas is bringing in a lot of talent this year. I think that he probably wants to be part of this class. So I think, if I had to put money on it or a paycheck, look, I'm saying, look,
Nino's going to press send on that video at 3:01 tomorrow. Be ready to catch it.
We'll be retweeting it at 3:01 tomorrow. Nino, y'all be looking for that video tomorrow. We'll be looking for that video. Hopefully all works out well. Y'all be looking for Nino's commitment video on Darian Gillette. You may have an opportunity to actually write 3 videos between now and the 15th of August. Because on the 10th, you got Cedric Baxter, who I think we really have a good chance of landing as well. So these us as
Jordan
fans,
Matthews
right?
Too on the 15th.
I think
Yep.
Jordan Matthews on the 15th. And I think Jeremy said it best the other day. You had all these string of recruits, and I know they kept Nino busy. I think you had them 13 in less than like 2 weeks. So
Dude, I was
really
killed.
busy.
I was dead.
They had like 13 commits in less than 10 days, and all of a sudden it got really, really quiet. It felt like June was like 6 months ago. Now all of a sudden you have an opportunity to land 3 more top tier guys, a cornerback in Jordan Matthews, the top 2. I think in most, I think composite, I think he's number 2. I think number 1 on 3 in Cedric Baxter out of Florida, who's, if you haven't watched his video or his tape, go watch his tape, and then obviously Darian Gillette tomorrow. So you have an opportunity to knock out 3 guys over the next 10 days?
Yeah, so, I think Nino's already got all 3 of those written. And there was a content creator chat that we're involved in. And on that Sunday, I happened to be on staff duty. So, hey, I had to be on staff duty. And that was the running content creator joke was, hey, Nino's going to leave us for a second, so you got to go produce another commitment video. So it is true.
I was busy as
hell. He was working.
I was working. That was crazy. Nah, but hey, Cedric Baxter, man, let's talk about him for a little bit, man. Dude, I love that guy's game. To me, just looking at his high school film, it just reminds me so much of Todd Gurley. Like, go look at Todd Gurley's high school film, and go look at Cedric Baxter's, his high school film. And I'm just going to leave that for you guys, and you guys just take a look at that. Man, it's utterly ridiculous how similar they are. Gurley had a little bit more of a top gear, but Baxter's speed is very deceptive, guys. Like, when he gets behind the defense, he doesn't get caught. So go look at that. I love his game. I've seen people comp him to, Larry Johnson from Penn State, which is a good comp. But, just for me, I like the Todd Gurley. I just think he's an amazing player, man.
So I'm going to go back and watch Todd Gurley next to Cedric Baxter. And I'm going to take the easy way out, because when I found out Cedric Baxter was interested in the University of Texas, I went and watched his film. Of course, 247 has their comparables. And so their easy answer was Najee Harris, because the upright running style, right?
Yeah.
Gets to the whole upright running style.
That's the thing. He's just not as big.
I think, but we know in the industry, right, the comparables are not when they come to college, but what they're going to be when they leave college. Yeah. And I think his growth he can add that weight, because he's tall and he's as tall. He can add that weight, not lose that speed. I think that's where they're looking at the Najee Harris comparison. He's
210 now, right?
Yeah, 6'2", 210.
Yeah, but Najee Harris is 244. I mean, you got to think about that. I think
that's Najee Harris, though. Yeah,
but college Najee, even high school Najee Harris was 227, wasn't he? He was 225, 227.
I think that's where he comes. I think that's where he ends up at 6'2", 225. Yeah. Not maybe coming into college, but I think after his it depends on, it's going to be an early enrollee and he gets some conditioning with Torrey Beckton, or he's late. But I think that's his playing weight is 6'2", 225, and he can keep the speed.
Yeah,
all those guys are
running style is what I saw.
But again, all those guys are Steve Sarkisian type running backs. That's the bottom line. They're all Steve Sarkisian type running back, and they're all pros, and they're big dudes, right? If you watch Najee Harris, man, Najee Harris, you're not bringing him down one tackler at a time. Yeah, it wasn't happening. And I think that's the kind of running backs that Steve Sarkisian wants to get. And that's just like Kyle Flood has his bodies. You're going to see that Steve Sarkisian is going to go out there and get those wiry wide receivers that are really, really fast. Mm-hmm. But he's going to get these big running backs. And that's what they're going to recruit to, for the next 20 years. Because I'm going to say Steve Sarkisian is going to be here for the next 20 years. All right. So we've been on here an hour. I'm going to ask one more question. I'm going to get y'all's thoughts on this. We're going to talk defensive line real quick. We talked about it just a smidgen about Bo Davis, breakout player on the defensive line. And I'm going to give you, I got to give some parameters here, right? Let me give some parameters here. They can't be junior or higher. And they could have played last year, but it can also be a true freshman. It makes sense? Mm-hmm. So you got to, within the confines of really your freshmen and sophomores, and they could have played last year. Who is your breakout player? I'll go let you go first, Nino. Who's your defensive player, breakout player on the defensive line?
I'm going to run down because I think he's going to steal them, but
I'm gonna say Byron Murphy.
Man, he stole him.
And but I don't think. All right, so Byron Murphy, I thought he probably played some of the best defensive line play last year as a true freshman. So would it really be a breakout player for him? But yeah, I'm gonna say Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy's gonna be a guy that's gonna get a lot of snaps this year. He's a dog too, man. I mean, he's like the prototypical attitude that you want in a player. You see, he has a nonstop motor. Even though he is smaller, he's a little shorter. Kid's nonstop. He's nasty with it. He's a dog. He don't care about you. If he got to run over you, step over you to get where he got to go, he's gonna do it. And that's the attitude I think that this defense needs. And if we can get to that, like on the line, get some dogs in the back end with an Overshawn who's a dog, with a Jalen Ford, Tucker Dorsey who's a dog as well. Yeah, man. I think Byron Murphy's gonna be that guy.
And he made it easy on me, 𝗟𝗓𝗏.
Damn it, I'm done. I'm done. So y'all took both of mine. You took both of mine. So I'm gonna have to come up with. I'm gonna have to pick a number 3. All right.
You see, I had to look at my depth chart, right? You see, I had to look at the depth chart, but I was like,
𝗟𝗓𝗏's gonna be something serious. 𝗟𝗓𝗏's gonna be serious.
All right, and he is probably, if the 𝗟𝗓𝗏 that played against Kansas State in the spring game shows up this season, he could potentially lead this team in sacks, and I think he could put up a good number because he was beating dudes easy, and that maybe he made that because he beat most guys on the speed rush, but I know he's powerful. I've watched him train some of the training videos with him. I think that could be your sack leader this year for the Texas Longhorns is 𝗟𝗓𝗏. So thank you for leaving me 𝗟𝗓𝗏, Nino. I know you didn't mean to.
All right, so y'all went with 2 sophomores, right? 2 sophomores, and I think 𝗟𝗓𝗏 is sophomore, right? Byron Murphy, they came at the same time, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna go. Y'all left me with nothing at this particular point. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go with true freshman, and I'm gonna say Justice Finkley he's probably not going to be the impact player that Byron Murphy and 𝗟𝗓𝗏 are. But I think Justice Finkley has an opportunity to play himself into a pivotal role in this defense as a true freshman this year. And I think a part of it is his size. I think a part of it is he brings a different attribute than what 𝗟𝗓𝗏 would is an outside pass rusher. I think he's a better inside pass rusher. He's big. I think he's already called. I think he's college ready as size goes, and I think that's what you worry about as a true freshman. Him being an early enrollee allowed him to learn the defense, the defense scheme. I'm going to go with Justice Finkley, a true freshman. Impact's not going to be as big as 𝗟𝗓𝗏 and Byron Murphy, but I think he will make an impact on this defense this year.
Oh, but talking about true freshmen, you got him and also
Jamon Tapp. Yep.
Come on, man. Tapp's gonna be something serious too, man. I'm from Louisiana. People don't know, like I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. And so I know Louisiana talent pretty well. I got 2 cousins that are something like 2 of the top players in the state right now. One's going to Nebraska and one has offers from, Mississippi State, and, one's a top 75 player here in the country. One's a 3-star, but like these kids can ball. And anybody knows anything about football in the state of Louisiana, it doesn't get the hype that Texas gets or Florida or Georgia, but per capita, I think it's the 2nd most represented state in the NFL. And it's because it's just down dirty. Kids don't go to camps a lot because they really can't afford the camps. There's not a lot of camps in the state. So these kids don't get to shine. Jamon Tapp, man, I'm telling you, I'm so high on Jamon Tapp. I think it's going to be a major player for us.
I truly believe that Jamon Tapp's early enrollee, like Justice Finkley, he's getting just as much love. Because he's – if you go back and watch their film, Jamon Tapp is an impact player. Jamon Tapp is a very highly rated player by the recruiting services. I think if he comes in January and we get a chance to see him play in spring game, I think he's getting just as much love. I'll be interested to hear, what they're saying after the first week of practice about him as well, Nino, because I really like his game.
Yeah, I think you're going to hear a lot more about it. Somebody said today, because if you're looking at the 2 deep, I don't agree with the 2 deep. Again, I'm not trying to call people out, but if you look at the 2 deep that's currently running there, I don't think it's going to be the 2 deep when they start the game. Yeah. I don't think so. So I think you're going to have to wait for both these offensive linemen and these new defensive linemen to put pads on, give it a couple of weeks, actually probably to do the first, maybe the second scrimmage to kind of see where everything kind of lies. And I think that's where you'll see the biggest impact on the 2 deep and after probably the first or second scrimmage. And I think that's I think after the first scrimmage, you're probably, and I didn't want to get into this too much while we were on the quarterback top, but I think after the first scrimmage, I think Steve Sarkisian's probably going to name his starting quarterback. I think it's going to be a lot earlier.
That's possible. And Coach Sarkisian said that himself. Like, don't look at this first couple of weeks of practices is about, rep distribution and less about too deep. It's about getting guys equal number of reps so that when I do get a chance to see him, like you say, when these scrimmages start, that I can make a good assessment of what my too deep needs to look like, because I'm not just running the same guys out there getting 50 snaps and the guys behind them are getting 20. I'm giving everybody equal reps so I can see, again, 57 out of 85 are freshmen or sophomores. They're all young. They're all in the second year of both the offensive and defensive scheme. I need to get these guys as many reps in my system and PK's system to get a good assessment when I go to make that too deep. So, I wouldn't look at the depth chart at this point.
Really, real quick, 168 people in here. It's a nice show, man, for an off-season show. 160 people in here watching us tonight. Please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please hit that subscribe button. After you hit that subscribe button, once this show's over, I need you to go to Ninos Corners Sports, hit his subscribe button as well. He'll be having a video tomorrow afternoon, probably around 3:01 for everybody. All right, so just be aware for that. Let me get to this $9.99 super chat. Then we have another $4.99 super chat as well. Okay, do you think we will become and let us know if you need to go, Nino. We're not going to hold you up.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Do you think we'll become the Ohio State, meaning a great offense? Hell, he sounded like Oklahoma at this particular point. Great offense, but a mediocre defense. Why or why not? Because defense wins champions. We can't we can't outscore everyone in college football. I'll take this first. I think like Nino said, I don't think that your trajectory is a top 50 defense this year. I think when you get to the SEC, that's when it's going to become a problem. You're working with air raid offenses in the Big 12, and until after you leave the Big 12, they're going to put up more points this year in the Big 12 because of the offensive coordinators and the coaches they have, head coaches they have currently in the Big 12. So you're going to have to put up points. You can't expect a top 50 defense. I think he's right. I think if you have somewhere between 65 and 75, you're going to win a whole bunch of games because I think your offense is going to allow you to score 37 to 40 points a game. I think that's where you're at. But no, when you get into the SEC, I think it really matters because as you see, teams like Ohio State, teams like Notre Dame, those teams that go off and play in the college football playoff, they don't score the points that they do in Big 12 play or independent, like a Notre Dame. So I think you have to bring that points per game down as you move into the SEC. I think over the next couple of years, while Texas is still in the Big 12, I don't think it really matters as much. Y'all's thoughts?
Yeah, I'm butchering that too, Clint. Oh, yeah. When people look at the classes that have been brought in last year and the class that's been brought in this year, it's not for competing in the Big 12. Like these classes are for 2023 and beyond. Hopefully we go to the SEC as soon as possible just to get out of the Big 12. But these classes are built for the SEC. And so, yes, I don't think that it's going to be just a pass-happy offense, which Sark doesn't have a pass-happy offense. He likes to run the ball. He's a very balanced offense, a lot of schemes, a lot of misdirections, a lot of confusion. Many of his plays are the exact same plays, but it's just a lot of confusion, a lot of movement that masks these plays around, right? So that when they do, actually run the design play, it's just confused the guys so much because they've seen that same motion 3 or 4 times in a row, and then bam, you got Worthy going down the sideline for 50 yards, right? So in saying that, yes, the offense is going to be good, but the offense it can't be what carries us in the SEC. We've got to field a good defense, but what these guys are getting here from these two classes has been definitely set up for us for 2024 and beyond to set us up good for the SEC. I think PK is going to play more, I would say multiple sets on the line when he goes to the SEC. That 2-4-5 is going to be good, but let's be honest. Once he gets to the SEC and has to go against these 330, 345-pound guys on Alabama's line and A&M's and Mississippi State's and Ole Miss's lines, of course, he's going to have to put more guys on the line. So, yeah, he's building the trenches up now so that this defense does actually do something here.
And I would just ask Dre what his definition of mediocre is. Is it points per game? Is it yards allowed? I just want to play complimentary football. You know what I mean? Like I just want to, as you guys said, if mediocre is 75 in the country, but your offense is averaging 40 points a game and your points per game is at 27, 28, I'll take that. because 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 12, I'm probably going to win those ball games. We're going to be 10-2 and probably competing for a championship. I just want to see, like you said, as we lead the Big 12 and start looking towards the SEC, because you're absolutely right. This roster's they're trying to build this roster for SEC competition. We progressively get better. We find the guys that'll play in PK's scheme. And again, mediocre to me is that 50 to 75 probably layer that you guys are talking about, but that's improved, and I want to see the explosive play rate go down. I want to see the pressure rate and havoc rate go up. I want to see more negative plays, tackles for loss, sacks. I want to see interior pressure from the defensive tackles and 3 techniques. And I want to see a stable of edges that could get to the quarterback. Mediocre, again, I don't know what that term really means as far as points per game or yards allowed, but I want to play complementary football. I want my offense to go down and score. When they do, I want my defense – they don't have to go 3 and out, but I would like for them to get a punt or to allow the offense to only score 3. I don't like answering touchdowns with touchdowns. Yeah, especially with the offense's propensity to score quick, because again, your defense ends up being on the. We end up running 66 plays when we probably should have been up around the 75 to 80 mark, and then you're close to the bottom in points or plays per game. Therefore, you're wearing out your defense. So football is one of those things where numbers will lie. But the points per game don't lie. And Pete Kwiatkowski in his career has been really good at bend, don't break, right? Giving up yards but not giving up touchdowns. And that's where I need to see this defense improve. And ultimately, that'll improve the team.
Real quick, so Fanatic Perspective's on here tonight, man. We got content creators in here. We got Fanatic Perspective somewhere, I think, between August 14 and 19. We haven't nailed down a date yet, so he will definitely be on the show as well. Really, really excited about that as we get closer to September 3rd. Man, I would love to be based on that question that we just asked, he said, man, I'd love to be in Ohio State's terms of success after we went through the last decade. Absolutely right. Hell yeah. Exactly. Winning Big Ten titles and going to the college football season. Hell, you'll take anything at this point. Yeah. Hell, that's what it's about, man. It's winning football games. Putting
yourself an opportunity in the shot.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. So next question is a $4.99 super chat. We'll keep this one pretty fast. I think we have another one after this. Talk about Jalen Ford, because he's my breakout player. I think he's a lot of people's breakout player. He's a linebacker. I think the growth from what you've seen last year at the end of the year versus what you've seen at the spring game versus what you're going to see that's what you want to see in players is progression, right? Instead of regression. And I think this guy's trajectory is off the charts. And I think he's going to put together a really good season this year at that linebacker spot.
Yeah, D-Train, if you ask his teammates, like we got a chance to ask at Burnt Orange Heroes event a couple of weeks ago, they believe in Jalen Ford too. Talking to David Gabenda, he's like, watch out for that guy. Because I was asking about the catapult system and the speed, and I mentioned how fast that him and DeMarvion and David all were. 21 miles per hour, Jalen Ford's top speed. He's like, that guy. And so if your teammates are giving you that endorsement, kind of like Connor Robertson gave to about 78, Kelvin Banks, when he said that guy is special and his eyes blew up about this big, when your teammates are saying that about you that play the same position, you got to trust them. So, yeah, D-Train, I believe that is David Gabenda's breakout player too, is 41.
Man, hey, I'm with that too, folks, because one thing that I like about Jalen Ford is that he is a middle linebacker. That's what he plays, right? So he doesn't have to spin down from safety, and come play linebacker and learn how to play linebacker, right? I think that was one of the problems we had, with Agent Zero, is that he had to learn how to play linebacker. And he played it well, though, so he did play it well. But a guy like Jalen Ford, a guy like, Dorsey, right? Those guys, that is their position. They don't have to learn it. They just go out there, go off instincts and play. And he's so, his like quickness, vertical side to side is just great instincts, because he has played the position. I think it's going to be a good breakout player this year as well.
All right. So next question we have, which road game scares you the most? Tech or Kansas State? I'm going to go first too, because I've been letting y'all go first, so I'm going first on all these, okay? All right, I'm always a Texas Tech guy. I don't give a shit if you beat them by 80 points last year in DKR. Throwing tortillas up there in Jones AT&T Stadium in Lubbock, Texas, always scares me. And I think they got a new head coach, so they're gonna be passionate about their football program this year. No Texas high school football coach out of Cedar Hill High School, won a bunch of state championships there. That went on to Baylor. So I think Texas Tech more than Kansas State this year. give Roschon the ball up in against Kansas State and give him the Wildcat, just let him do what he did last year, here. But Texas Tech, going to Lubbock scares me more than actually going up to Kansas State. Manhattan, Kansas, right? Yeah, Manhattan.
Yeah, that's the baby Manhattan. I'm
I'll go K-State.
Yeah, I'm saying K-State too, Jeremy. Man, K-State, just think about it. If they had the quarterback last year, like their starting quarterback didn't play last year. And, we barely got past that game. And also they got Deuce Vaughn. Like when Deuce gets loose, when Deuce gets loose,
you're right.
Our tackling needs to be better against him. He just
it's terrible
all over the place.
Deuce scares me, man. I mean, he's one of those guys, man, that there's a reason why PFF and the AP are saying that he's a top 2 or 3 running back in the country. And we got to go against that. So yeah, man, Deuce Vaughn is something serious, man.
That's a game where tackling that better be improved. I'll tell you that.
So it's 2-2. I'm bringing Fanatic perspective in here. He says Tech does. I'm assuming he's saying that Texas Tech does. So I'm bringing him in here, so I'm not outnumbered here. So it's actually 2-2, 2 for Tech and 2 for Kansas State. Thank you, Fanatic perspective. I really do appreciate that. Man, fun show, Nino.
Yeah, man, this is great, man. This is great.
Yeah. So what we need to do, and I think we've done it before with a big group. I think we had like this big round table, and I think we need to maybe do that one time before, and I think get everybody on Texas Homer, yourself, Fanatic Perspective, the Lando Show, Texas Platinum. Hell, we may have 20 people on here. It might be kind of crazy. I don't mind dishing out the questions. I kind of like that, like a point guard, with his assist. I don't mind doing that, but I think if we could get that show, I just don't know if the bandwidth will hold up.
I know. No. You know what? Last time we did it, we had about 8 people on, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was 8.
Yeah, man. Hey, we can do it.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're in charge of planning that.
I got it.
So I think so. But obviously we have that DM that that's on Twitter. We're all in there together. I think we just need to come up with a time. I think closer to September 3rd. I'll be in Disney World, believe it or not, during that ULM game. So I'll be doing a post game show from Florida at Disney World. Should be fun. But I think we need to do it closer to the season, to get everybody's thoughts on what they expect and who their breakout players are going to be and what maybe the so on and so forth. So that's more to come on that. You sure ain't a shooting guard? Absolutely not. Neighbor over here, he's got a hoop, man. He's got some talented kids, man. And I try to go out there, and my old ass is being run off the court within about 30 seconds. It's not happening, But hey, Nino, tell them where they can find you at, man, and tell them where your next video is going to come out as well.
And also tell them about your new project you got, your message board that you just.
Yeah. So, man, look, folks, I got a lot of stuff going on. So, hey, find me, man. It's Ninos Corner, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, the whole 9. But go to Ninos Corner Sports. I got like a new message board. I'm just trying to get it up and running. It's not up and running. It's not kicking the way I wanted to yet. But the whole intent is during the football season, it's a free space for us just to go free talk about Texas football and like everything. So that's up there, man. Also, I do high school interviews, with a high school kid. So. There's a couple guys who I actually interviewed last year. Actually 3 of them, and all 3 of them got D1 offers. So it's good to interview those kids prior to them getting their offers and just seeing like their faces light up. There's 3 or 4 guys that I'm working with now. One out of Bama. His name is Jayden Jackson, and I've been throwing videos up. I call him like the Byron Murphy starter kit. I mean, this kid is. People in Bama are saying that this guy is the most complete defensive lineman still left on the board. So he's a really good kid too, man. Good kid, good family, comes from a really well coached, team. His dad's the coach at his high school as well. His brother plays college ball as well. So just a good family, good team atmosphere, everything. But yeah, I do the high school interviews. I do the interviews for the offensive linemen. I've interviewed Connor Stroh and Jaden Chapman and Gooseby, and also Kojo as well. I need Peyton Kirkland. I need you, buddy. So yeah. So yeah, man, I do interviews for the teams as well, man. So hey, check out everything I got. Ninos Corner, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hey, I'm there.
Yeah. Hey, and when you get off of here, because I'm gonna do our little outro. When you get off of here, I need you to go over there, hit that subscribe button to Ninos Corner Sports on YouTube as well. So that's the end of this show tonight. We were on here for about an hour and 20 minutes. We appreciate you coming on here, man. It's always good to get other people's insight. Jeremy gets tired of talking to just me on these shows as well. So we start doing collaborations. You know, it just makes it that much more fun to get other people's ideas. So we're not just sitting here shooting our ideas back to each other. Because we talk a lot off of the channel as well. So we appreciate y'all listening as always. You can find us on Facebook at Texas Football Talk, on Instagram at Texas Football Talk, and on Twitter at TX Football Talk. Please hit that like button if you have not hit that like button. 141 people still in here, 110 likes. So if you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. We're gearing towards 4,000 before the season. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's rough.
Me too.
You know, 4,000 subscribers before the channel. For the season starts. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done that. But we appreciate y'all tonight. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you soon. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.